I'm not at school today. Miss Hodges is not feeling well, and you know, just trying to play it safe, help her out with the weed children and whatnot. So while I'm holding back two cannibalistic natives in my home, I'm gonna ask you guys to keep going on some stage 6 stuff. Sorry, we really haven't been able to spend a whole lot of time together going over it, but you guys are pretty smart, so I think you can figure it out. Um, you will see on It's Learning a link to this presentation right below the link to this video. I'm just going to go over it and just show you how everything is supposed to work. And yeah, let's go. All right, so the res agendi, the things to be done. Number 1, on a separate sheet of paper, copy down the cheat sheet on slide 2. So go over to slide 2 and either take a picture of this with your phone or write it down. I think it's more helpful if you write it down, but you know, whatever. In this stage, we are learning about different verb tenses. So far, we have actually seen an example of the present tense as well as an example of the perfect tense when we played Clue, and we kept saying nakawit for killed. You'll notice here in this column talking about verbs in the perfect tense that you're going to see a lot of V's, and that's kind of what you're looking for. But basically what you see here is what we know now, present tense verbs, what we have messed with before. Anything in the present tense is translated as blanks or is or are blanking, and it's happening now. And then down here, I just have some examples of different present tense verbs and what they look like. The important thing to remember is these bottom ones, est and sunt. They don't follow the same pattern as everything else, like audit and superat. But I just wanted you to see the different examples of them side by side. I figured that would be a lot more helpful. So here's the present tense column on the left, and then these two different columns over here, two different ways to communicate something happening in the past. Perfect tense verbs. Perfect is just the grammatical term for something that was completed. So the perfect tense, which is one of the two past tenses we're going to learn, is like superawit, meaning overpowered, as opposed to superat, which means overpowers. It could also be translated, superawit could also be translated as he has overpowered. Superawerunt is they overpowered or they have overpowered. Same idea with audiwit and audiwerunt means he or they heard, as opposed to audit and audiunt, he hears or they hear. And that brings us to the imperfect, which is another version of the past tense, and it's a lot easier to pick out. The telltale sign for a perfect tense verb so far is a V. You'll see a VIT or a VERUNT at the end. And for the imperfect tense, which imperfect just means incomplete or was blanking or were blanking, you'll see things like superabat, he was overpowering. Superabant, they were overpowering. Audiebat, he was hearing, and audiebant, they were hearing. And you'll also see the imperfect tense of est and sunt, which is erat and erant, which is he was and they were. You'll notice the perfect tense version in the middle, fuit and fuerunt, he has been and they have been. We're not going to see that very much in this stage. So while I have it here, I have it faded out because it's not going to be super important right now. Just be aware that it exists. And these words are also where we get the past tense of soy in Spanish, if you know Spanish. All right, so you're going to copy this down or take a picture of it so you can have it, just so you can tell the different tenses of verbs. The second step is to copy the vocabulary if you haven't done so yet, if you didn't the last time I was out. Here's the stage 6 vocabulary Quizlet. You can review the vocab here after you copy it down. And you can do it in any way you want. Test mode, match mode, learn mode, so on and so forth. Whichever one you think is more helpful to you. Just do it to the point that you feel like you have a general grasp of the words, and feel free to refer back to this if you need help with vocabulary later in the lesson. Third step, complete your translation of the model sentences and the culture questions if you haven't done so already. This is what we did. This is what I assigned last week when I was out when Ms. Hodges was sick the last time. And if you just follow that, it'll take you to the Google Classroom activity, which has both the assignments right here as well as a link to the Stage 6 PDF. So if you haven't finished that, go ahead and finish that. The next step is the Verum Falsum or True False listening activity based on the story Pugna on page 90 of the packet, and complete it. So Here's a link to the stage 6 packet in case you need it. A link to the listening quiz on Google Classroom. So this is a separate assignment on Google Classroom from the last one. You'll open it up, Pugna listening activity, and you'll see I made another video. It's right here of me reading the story Pugna, and this is just strictly for audio. You're going to just try and listen to the story and see which of these true-false questions you can answer. I would say listen to it 2 or 3 times, as I say in the video, because repetitions are good. And then after the second or third time listening to it, if you don't have an answer for any of these, feel free to look at the stage 6 packet. Like I said, the links are in those 2 places I just showed. There's one right on the slide. And go to page 90 and look at the story, and you'll be able to look at the gloss and look up words and see what I'm saying in case you didn't understand me, and try and answer it that way. But first, give it a couple of good attempts by just listening to it. I do not expect you to totally get it the first time while listening to it, or even the second time. But I do expect that you guys should be able to answer probably at least half of these just by listening. Okay, maybe that's a high expectation, but whatever. So once you get that done, that just kind of leaves the last thing here, which is open and respond to this final question, which is just asking you in your own words to tell me the difference between a present perfect and imperfect tense Latin verb. If all of that stuff is done, then you are in really good shape. I will go over here with this time that I have left to go over the model sentences. If we haven't done so already. If you haven't finished the model sentences yet, then please pause this video and try and give them a solid attempt before just listening to the answers, because in that way the answers don't really help you. There is the version right here on Google Classroom. I'm actually going to go look at the stage 6 packet because I just think I like having the pictures there. They're actually pretty funny pictures. So like I said, we're going to retranslate the model sentences right here. So if you haven't done them yet, pause this video, go to Google Classroom, and give it a shot. Okay. All right, so number 1, servi per viam ambulabant. So you'll see the ambulabant has the BA ending. That's imperfect. They were walking. The slaves were walking through the street. Number 2, canis subito latravit. The dog suddenly barked. Number 3, grumio canem timebat. Grumio was afraid of the dog. Pestis clamavit cocus. Pestis, pest, shouted the cook. Clemens erat fortis, said canis clementum superavit. Clemens was brave or strong, said canis, but the dog, clementum superavit, overpowered Clemens. I just think this is a funny story. Number 7, Quintus per viam ambulabat. Quintus was walking through the street. Juvenes clamorem audivit. The young man heard a shout. Canis clementum vexabat. The dog was attacking Clemens. Number 10, Quintus canem possavit. Quintus punched the dog, beat the dog, struck the dog. In the original version of this textbook, he's actually holding a club. But due to the complaints by animal rights groups, they felt that this glorified abuse. So they just had him punch him instead, which I think is way better. I think that fixed the problem. Okay. Number 11, servi erant laeti. The slaves were happy. And number 12, servi quintum laudaverunt. The slaves praised Quintus as the dog runs away. And so those are the model sentences. You will see Pugna, the story, on the next page right here, if you keep scrolling down. And yeah, that should be it. If you're interested in understanding better the difference between the present, imperfect, and perfect tense, then I would say come and read page 93 and 94. I think this will do a good job of explaining the differences. And this is what we'll be spending most of our time learning about in this stage, how to say things in the past tense and the present tense and the difference. It is confusing at first, but it is worth it. But either way, that is all I have for today. So please make sure that you go copy down the cheat sheet from slide 2, copy the vocab and practice if you haven't done so already. Complete the model sentences and culture questions if you have not done so already. Answer the Warum Falsum listening activity on Google Forms, on Google Classroom, and answer this final question. If I can be of help to you guys, please shoot me a message. I will host this video on Google Drive as well, so it does not restrict it at the school for whatever reason. I hope y'all are well, and I'll talk to you soon. Walete.